This story isn't just about striking gold. It's about making a choice most miners are afraid to make. This season, Parker Schnabel achieved something that many believed was impossible. He uncovered nearly $210 million worth of gold, a number so massive it grabbed the attention of the entire gold mining industry. This wasn't luck. It was the result of a decision made under extreme pressure and risk. Imagine working in a place where the weather can turn in minutes. The ground shifts beneath heavy machines, and every obstacle can cost millions. Reports show that the gold recovery rate at this site was 35 to 40% higher than the industry average, meaning gold that would normally be lost underground was successfully recovered. Fuel prices were rising. Machines were constantly at risk of failure. The crew was exhausted. Everything seemed stacked against Parker. But the operation never stopped. And this wasn't a sudden jackpot. It was a calculated move. Massive wash plants, high-capacity systems, and non-stop shifts. Every single hour of delay could cost around $180,000. One wrong decision could have destroyed the entire season. But Parker didn't back down. Now the real tension begins. When gold discoveries reach this scale, the questions become even more dangerous. Is this the peak, or is Parker ready to push even further? Insiders suggest the next move could either cement this season as historic or flip everything upside down. One thing is certain: those who don't pay attention now will miss the moment when $210 million becomes more than a number. It becomes a legacy. This isn't ordinary mining. This is history in the making. When we talk about $210 million, we're not just talking about money. Figures this large are incredibly rare in gold mining. Even a strong season is typically valued far lower, which is why this discovery sparked conversations far beyond the show and across the entire industry. Compared to standard operations, the difference is striking. Most miners extract limited gold from each ton of soil, with a large portion going to waste. At this site, recovery rates were 35 to 40% higher than normal, something experts consider extremely rare. Same ground, same machines, dramatically better results. That's why this isn't being called a simple win. The real weight of this achievement lies in the risk behind it. To reach numbers this high requires equal levels of expense, time, and pressure. Fuel, machinery, maintenance, labor, millions of dollars were on the line every single day. A minor breakdown or sudden storm could have wiped out the entire operation. Yet the results kept coming, consistently. That's why this season is being described as record-shattering. It didn't just break previous records, it set a new benchmark in gold rush history. It proved that with the right planning, timing, and decisions, even the impossible can become reality. This land wasn't easy. In fact, it was dangerous. The ground was unstable, filled with hidden water channels. One mistake could trigger a disaster. In many areas, the soil was so soft that heavy machinery risked sinking. For years, this made the site notorious. Weather was the greatest enemy. Sudden rain, freezing winds, and rapid temperature changes could shut everything down without warning. Rain didn't just slow work, it caused flooding and ground collapse in an already fragile area. Because of this, many miners had tried and failed here. Some walked away after heavy losses. Machines sank, costs spiraled out of control. Eventually, the site earned a reputation as a high-risk zone, a place no smart miner would touch. But that's where the story changes. Where others quit, a new chapter began. The risks were the same. The land was the same. The weather hadn't changed. The only difference was the decision-making. This site became more than a mining operation. It became a proving ground, showing that even the harshest terrain can be conquered with the right strategy. Parker's mindset is what set him apart. While most miners focus first on risk, Parker looks for opportunity. He doesn't avoid risk, he manages it. To him, risk isn't a reason to stop, it's a reason to plan smarter. This approach clearly separates old-school mining from the new generation. Experience matters, but Parker relies heavily on data, testing, and modern technology. Instead of saying, "This has always been done this way," he asks, how can we do it better now? That flexibility allowed him to adapt quickly as conditions changed. The hardest moment comes when there are only two choices: stop or move forward. Most people hit the brakes. Parker pressed the accelerator. Weather warnings, rising costs, and exhaustion all signaled danger. Still, he pushed on. Not recklessly, but with confidence in his plan. That single decision changed everything. One wrong call could have ended the season. The right one made history. Today, Parker is seen not just as a miner, but as a strategic leader, someone who can think clearly under pressure, with heavy machines, massive stakes, and no margin for error. This wasn't just gold. It was proof that smart decisions, bold planning, and unwavering commitment can turn the most dangerous ground into historic success. The wash plants operating here were enormous. Their sheer size meant that even a minor malfunction could result in millions of dollars in losses. These machines were built to move and process massive volumes of soil in order to capture every possible ounce of gold. But with size comes risk. The larger the system, the higher the stakes. At the center of the entire operation was a high-capacity sluice system. Without strong water flow, the correct angles, and constant monitoring, gold recovery could drop instantly. If the balance was even slightly off, valuable gold would wash away unnoticed. That's why adjustments, inspections, and testing were done hour after hour. What might look simple on the surface was actually highly technical work, demanding constant focus and intense pressure. Then there were the daily operating costs. Running machines of this scale required huge amounts of fuel. The daily fuel consumption alone was staggering. Add maintenance, replacement parts, and full crews, and the operation was burning through millions of dollars every single day. This was the true meaning of heavy machines and heavy stakes. There was absolutely no room for mistakes. The more powerful the equipment, the greater the pressure to keep everything running smoothly. But with smart planning and precise timing, these massive machines became an advantage rather than a liability. Managed correctly, they turned into the operation's greatest weapon. This was also a true 24/7 operation. Work never stopped. Day and night shifts kept production moving around the clock. While this showed the full power of modern machinery, it also revealed the limits of human endurance. Crews rotated through shifts to maintain constant output. But behind the scenes, the pressure was relentless. Fatigue became one of the biggest risks. Long hours slowly erode focus, and that's where human error begins. One wrong lever, a delayed signal, or a small miscalculation could shut down the entire system. Around heavy machinery, mistakes weren't just costly, they could be deadly. Staying alert through every shift was one of the hardest challenges the crew faced. This created a constant tension between speed and safety. Every minute mattered, pushing the team to work faster. But cutting corners on safety could jeopardize everything. Parker repeatedly had to decide when to push forward and when to slow things down. Finding that balance wasn't easy, but it was essential to keeping the operation alive. The nonstop schedule became a test not only of physical strength, but of intelligence and discipline. Only those who understood the limits of both machines and people could succeed. Then came the result that stunned everyone: the recovery rate. In most mining operations, losing gold is considered normal. Recovering 60 to 65% of available gold is usually seen as a solid outcome. But here, the recovery rate was 35 to 40% higher than average, something extremely rare in the industry. This shocked even experienced experts. Normally, fine gold is easily lost as water carries soil through the system. Strong currents, poor angles, or outdated equipment often allow valuable particles to slip away unnoticed. That lost gold later becomes regret because it represents a major portion of potential profit. Most miners accept this loss as unavoidable. Parker didn't. Instead, he challenged the system. He constantly tested and adjusted every variable: water pressure, wash plant speed, sluice angles, and flow patterns. Every adjustment was guided by data. The process was slow and demanding, but it allowed even the finest gold to be captured. That's why this recovery rate wasn't just a statistic. It was the result of deliberate thinking. Where others accepted losses, Parker questioned them. This mindset set the operation apart and proved that even in mining, hidden gains can be unlocked with the right approach. In this operation, time was money in the most literal sense. Every hour could mean a loss of roughly $180,000. Even when machines weren't moving, costs continued to pile up. Fuel, maintenance, and wages never stopped. Shutting down wasn't just inconvenient, it was dangerous financially. That's why decisions had to be made fast, but never carelessly. Weather was one of the greatest threats. Sudden rain could soften the ground, increasing the risk of machines sinking or getting stuck. Just a few hours of bad weather could wipe out an entire day of work. Mechanical failures were another constant threat. If a critical machine broke down mid-operation, repairs could take hours or even an entire day. A single mistake could destroy a full day's calculations. And losing one day didn't just hurt immediate profits, it disrupted future plans, inflated expenses, and shrank margins. Every day became a test that had to be passed. That's why it was said that every hour truly mattered. In this race against time, success depended on who could make the right decisions under pressure. After results like these, it's natural to ask whether it was luck or a calculated gamble. To outsiders, it might look like a lucky break. But behind the scenes, the story tells a different truth. Every step was carefully planned. Parker relied on constant data analysis, testing, and fine-tuning. Soil quality, water flow, machine speed, everything was measured and adjusted continuously. If one area underperformed, changes were made immediately. This approach didn't deliver instant rewards, but over time, it proved to be the most effective. That's why experts don't call this luck. When decisions are made consistently, risks are controlled, and losses are minimized, the outcome is strategy, not chance. Parker took risks, but never blindly. Every move was calculated. This is why the result is seen as a strategic victory. It proves that gold mining isn't just about strength or money, it's also about intelligence, planning, and the ability to think clearly under pressure. When the plan is right, even the biggest risks can turn into massive rewards. But mining at this level isn't just a contest of machines, it's a battle of the mind. The psychological pressure on the crew was impossible to hide. Their body language told the story. Exhausted faces, slower movements, and tension lingering in their eyes. Everyone understood that even the smallest mistake could lead to serious losses. That fear followed them into every shift, even when operations seemed stable. The weight of past failures made it even heavier. Many crew members had worked on sites where high hopes collapsed. Machines sank into the ground, money disappeared, and confidence was shattered. Those memories resurfaced whenever the weather worsened or a machine made an unfamiliar sound. In moments like that, mental stress outweighed physical exhaustion. This is where Parker's leadership truly stood out. He wasn't just giving orders from a distance. He stayed close to the team, knowing when to stop operations and when it was safe to move forward. He didn't ignore fear. He acknowledged it and used it to guide smarter decisions. That approach reminded the crew they weren't facing the pressure alone. Because of that, the team stayed united instead of breaking apart. The pressure was enormous, but it was managed. And that mental victory eventually turned into success in the field. When the results became public, the reaction across the industry was immediate. Rival miners initially said little, but comparisons began behind the scenes. Many struggled to understand how the same land and similar conditions could produce such dramatically different outcomes. Some dismissed it as a risky gamble, while others praised it as a bold and courageous move. Industry experts offered a more measured view. They agreed this wasn't just about money or powerful machines, it was the result of smart strategy, timing, and a willingness to move beyond outdated thinking. The unusually high recovery rate and tight cost control especially caught their attention. Over time, it became clear that this success went far beyond a single season. It was increasingly seen as a turning point in gold rush history, a moment when modern thinking challenged old rules. Future operations would inevitably be compared to this example. That's why many now call it not just a major discovery, but a game-changing moment for mining. And yet, the story doesn't end with a record. In fact, that's when the real danger begins. Success brings higher expectations, and those expectations can quickly become the greatest threat. Everyone wants to maintain the same pace and repeat the same results, but mining doesn't work that way. As pressure increases, machines are pushed harder. Wash plants and conveyor systems operating near their limits face a much higher risk of failure. One major breakdown wouldn't just stop a machine, it could throw the entire operation off track. Another silent danger also appears: overconfidence. When things go well, warning signs are easier to ignore. Small issues are dismissed, and those small oversights can grow into major failures. History shows that some of the biggest mining disasters didn't come from bad luck, but from confidence that went unchecked. That's why caution matters even more after success. Managing a victory can be harder than achieving it. Now the question becomes unavoidable. Is this the peak or just the beginning? No one knows how long the gold will continue to flow. Sometimes the ground suddenly runs dry. Other times, even richer deposits lie hidden below. This uncertainty is what makes mining so dangerous and so tempting. Geology now takes center stage. The layers of earth, rock formations, and soil patterns hold clues to what might come next. Early signs suggest there could still be gold deeper underground, but how much remains, and in what condition, is impossible to say for certain. Digging deeper brings new costs and greater risks. More depth means more money, more time, and more pressure. If the predictions are right, the payoff could be historic. But if the land doesn't deliver, that decision could derail the entire season. This is the moment when a leader's true character is revealed. So the story remains unfinished. This could be the final triumph, or the start of an even bigger chapter. The answer lies beneath the ground, and the price of finding it may be enormous. Behind every great victory, an equally great risk is waiting. If things had gone wrong, the consequences could have been severe. The ground could have collapsed, machines could have failed, or the weather could have turned hostile without warning. Mining conditions can change so quickly that there's often no chance to recover. The first impact would have been financial. Millions of dollars were tied up in equipment, fuel, and labor. If production stopped, expenses would continue while income disappeared. In just a few days, profits could have turned into heavy losses, damaging not just one season, but future operations as well. Even more damaging than money would have been the loss of reputation. In the gold mining world, reputation is everything. A major failure would have shaken investor confidence and raised doubts about leadership decisions. That loss of trust could have closed doors to future opportunities and partnerships. That's why the stakes were never just about gold. They were about credibility, legacy, and the future itself. This is why people say a single mistake can redefine an entire legacy. A name celebrated for success today can quickly become remembered for one wrong decision. That possibility followed every step of this journey. The question now isn't how much gold was mined. It's what this moment means for Parker's legacy. Money matters, but history is never written by numbers alone. This victory proves that with the right mindset and the courage to act, even the toughest situations can be turned around. That's what makes a name unforgettable. Parker's journey reflects the transformation from a young miner into a potential legend. Making decisions of this magnitude at such a young age and standing by them is no small feat. He placed his trust not only in himself, but also in his team and the systems he built. Those qualities elevate him beyond the role of a miner. In the world of Gold Rush, this moment feels like a defining milestone. In the seasons ahead, Parker won't just be measured against his own past. He'll be compared to the biggest names the show has ever seen. The real question is whether he can sustain this level of performance. If this momentum continues, this won't be remembered as a single great season. It could mark the beginning of a legacy that's referenced for years to come. This is the moment when a miner becomes part of history. But the story doesn't end here. It only deepens. Everything that's happened so far is just one chapter, not the full picture. There are still signs beneath the ground suggesting there's more to uncover. What lies ahead remains uncertain, and that uncertainty makes the journey even more dangerous. The biggest question now is whether everything has already been decided, or if the most critical decision is still ahead. Will Parker stop here, or will he take another major risk? Moving forward could bring even greater rewards, but it also carries greater danger. This is the turning point where one right move can create history, and one wrong move can flip everything upside down. Those who focus only on the outcome miss the real drama, which lives inside the decisions themselves. What you've seen so far is only the beginning. The pressure will rise, the risks will grow, and every decision will matter more than the last. This is the moment when true identity is forged, and that's what makes this journey so compelling. So stay with us. Those who don't subscribe will miss the moment when $210 million becomes more than gold. It becomes history. No one knows what comes next, but one thing is certain: what lies ahead won't be ordinary. If you want to witness every twist and turn of this story, stay tuned. The final verdict is still to come. Please subscribe to the Timefold channel and don't forget to like.